In today's video, I am going to show you how to make the pleated box pouch. I chose that name because it has pleated size and a box shape. This project is suitable for the absolute beginner, and this pouch can store your toiletries, cosmetics, art supplies and more, as it has a large interior even for the small size. Today I am going to show you how to draft the pattern in case you want to increase or decrease the size. Otherwise, download the PDF version for the small size from the description box below. Here are the finished dimensions. Let's get started. I am going to first start with a rectangle of 20 cm by 8 cm. The 20 cm is the width of the rectangle, and this is going to be my base. Some of the width is going to be part of the pleats at the end of the day, so the final pouch is going to be at least 15 cm. So if you want to make the final measurement of or the final width of your pouch 20 cm, make the rectangle or the width of the rectangle at least 25 cm. I am going to duplicate that rectangle twice, and I am going to add it to either side of my base. This is going to be the front and the back part of our pouch. I am also going to duplicate the base rectangle again, and I am going to divide it into two. So we have two rectangles of 20 cm by 4 cm. I am going to add that to the front and the back, and this part is going to be the part that will hold our zipper tip. Adding it all together now, we have a rectangle of 32 cm by 20 cm. Now let us work with that rectangle. I am going to divide it into two equal parts widthwise, and now we have two rectangles of 16 cm by 20 cm. This is the pattern for our interfacing. To get my fabric, I am going to add 1.5 cm on each side and 1 cm on the base alone. We are not adding anything to the top. So our fabric dimension is 17 cm by 23 cm. The kind of fabric I am using today is like cotton canvas, so I don't need an interfacing. But for your main fabric, if it is light, you can use a lightweight fusible fleece or a lightweight woven interfacing. My lining fabric today is 4 suede, and it is pretty thick on its own. If your lining is light, use a lightweight woven interfacing. For my zipper tab, I am using the main fabric. The length of my zipper is determined by the width of my fabric. So this right here is 23 centimeters. So find out the width of your fabric and use it to cut or use it to measure the length of your zipper. Remember the way we drafted our interfacing pattern. So it is smaller than the fabric, and it should have 1.5 centimeters on each side and 1 cm at the bottom. So the interfacing should go all the way to the top. Before I do anything, I am going to sew some stitches on my zipper tape so that my zipper edge does not fly away when I am working with it. Now I am going to bring my main fabric, and I am going to place my zipper tape right sides facing the right side of the main fabric. I am going to pin, and I am going to sew using a seam allowance of ½ centimeter. For the absolute beginner, you can draw a line of ½ centimeter to serve as a guide on the wrong side of the zipper tape when you get to the sewing machine. And notice guys, I am using a zipper foot. Now that is done, I am going to bring my lining fabric, and I am going to place it right sides touching the main fabric. So our zipper is sandwiched between the lining fabric and the main fabric. I am going to pin, and I am going to sew following the previous seam that we made. Now that is done, we can decide to press if we want. So I'm going to flip the lining so that my fabrics are touching on the wrong sides. I am going to pin both fabrics up together, and I am going to top stitch. Now for my top stitch, I have no particular seam allowance, but an 1/8 of an inch is fine. Now that I am done, this is what we have. So now I am going to bring the other fabric, the main fabric, and I am going to place it right sides facing the right side of the zipper. I am going to repeat the same process, pin and sew, but if you are confident, you can decide to bring your lining fabric and sew all three of them at once, because at the end of the day, we are literally pasting the zipper to the main fabric. So now I am going to take this to the sewing machine and sew all of them at once. Now that I am done with that, I am going to repeat the same process, which is top stitching. Do not forget to like this video so that other people who need this video can see it, and do not forget to subscribe and join the DIY family if you haven't already. Now that that is done, I am going to keep it aside and work on my zipper tabs. For my tab, I chose to use the wrong side of the main fabric because I like the way it looked, and I'm going to show you how to do it from the other pouch that I made. So first, our tab or our fabric, then we are going to fold it into half, press so we have a crease, and now I am going to take the raw edges to the middle, both raw edges to the middle. I am going to press it flat and I am going to fold again. Now we are going to sew our tab on each side. Repeat the same to the other side so we have 2 zipper tabs. After sewing, this is what we have. So now I am going to trim off the excess zipper that I have, and I am going to fold my zipper tab into half. I'm going to add it to the edge of my zipper or to the end of my zipper, and I'm going to sew that in place. So this is it, all done and ready to go. So now guys, I am going to take my fabrics, place them right sides together. So I'm going to place the main fabric right sides together. I am going to pin and I am going to sew. Now for the lining fabric, we are going to have an opening. So make sure you have an opening that is reasonable enough, an opening that is big enough for you to be able to turn the whole purse when you are done. So mine is about 10 cm long. So you are going to sew from one end to the opening and from the other end to the opening. Make sure you backstitch properly so that your opening doesn't rip when you're turning the purse to the right side. And guys, please remember to open up your zipper, please. Do not forget to open up your zipper. I forgot and it was difficult for me when I turned everything out. So this is it guys, our opening is here. Now that we've sewn the base, I am going to show you what to do next on the other pouch that we made. So at this point, we are supposed to press our openings or our seam allowance, but there was no power supply, so I was finger pressing. So in order to do it properly, I am going to bring a tailor's arm that I made previously. If you want to know how to make this, I am going to leave the link in the description box below so that you can watch the video. So I am going to press my seam allowance flat on both the main fabric and the lining fabric. A quick reminder for you to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Guys, please do like and subscribe. Now that that's done, it is time to form our pleats. In order to form the pleats, I am going to bring the middle of the seam we just ironed, both on the main fabric and the lining fabric, to the middle of the zipper. So I am going to clip that in place and I am going to repeat to the other side. Guys, make sure everything is in the middle. I was placing my fabric in such a way that it would be easier for me to see. So if it is out of the camera, I apologize. But at the end of the day, we just want all our seams to align and to be in the middle. So after that is done, I am going to bring my iron and I am going to press the fold, the end, that fold right there. I really don't know how to explain it so that we have a crease or we have a line. If you do not want to iron, you can simply notch. So here I am just trimming off any excess fabric so that everything is aligning. So like I said, if you do not want to iron, you can notch, but the essence of ironing is to create a line so that we know what to work with or we have what to work with. Now I am going to bring that line, which is the middle of the previous fold, to that middle that we have. Remember, the middle of our base, the middle of the zipper teeth, and the middle of our lining fabric. So we are going to bring that crease or that line or the notch, if that is what you made, to the middle or right beside the middle. I hope you understand. I hope that is explanatory enough. So I am just going to clip that in place and I am going to press. Now I am going to press everything flat, including the lining fold. I really don't know if I am doing justice to this explanation, but try as much as possible to follow the video and watch my steps. So now I am going to fold my lining inside like so. Can you see the way I am folding? I am going to clip it in place for now. And I am going to bring the excess main panel that we have, and I am going to fold it on top of that lining that we have. So see the way I flipped the main panel, part of the main panel back on top of the lining? That is what you should do. Okay, so try as much as possible to follow the steps if you are not getting the explanation right. So I am going to repeat the whole process to the other side of our pouch. Now when you are done folding or flipping the main panel on top of the lining panel, we want to make sure that everything is aligned. Both the main panel and the lining panel are on the same line. So you don't want the lining panel you don't want it to be out more. I really don't know how to explain it, but when you place your pouch or your project on top of the table, you want to be able to see that the main panel and the lining panel are on the same line. So you don't want to be able to see the lining panel and see that the main panel is shorter or the main panel is longer than the lining panel. So you want to make sure that everything is on the same line. I hope you understand the explanation. So this is what I am saying. When you flip the main panel, like what you're about to do now, when you flip it back and you clip it, you want to make sure that both the lining panel and the main panel are on the same line. Back to the previous project, I am going to sew with a seam allowance of 1.5 centimeter. Now if you feel like your seam is too bulky, you can decide to go for a bigger needle. I use this size 21 needle at this point because the main fabric itself is thick. Now that that is done, I trimmed the seam allowance on the bigger pouch that I made, and I must say it wasn't easy cutting through all those bulk and also the zipper tape, so there is absolutely no need for you to trim your seam allowance. I am going to flip mine to the right side, and when I am done flipping, I am going to have an opening at the bottom of my lining. Now you can use your needle and thread to stitch the opening short, but I am going to take mine to the sewing machine and I am going to sew because it is faster. After sewing, I am going to flip my pouch to the right side, and guys, make sure you put your fingers in order to poke out the corners, arrange the pleats. Don't get frustrated at this point, okay? One thing I like about this pouch is that when not in use, it can be stored flat. Now guys, these are the final pictures that I made, and I want to tell you guys one last thing before we end the video. Now when it comes to making the pleats, these are the two that I made. If you notice, the smaller size, the pleat does not get to the middle, but for the bigger size, the pleats got to the middle. Now remember when I was telling you guys to fold to the middle and everything? So this is the final result. Both of the pouches are great, no doubt. Both of them are looking good, no doubt. But the way you fold or the way you pleat will determine if your pleats get to the middle. Okay, so decide what you want. Both of them looks good. This is part 2 of our beginners project. The first part is a simple tote bag. Use the hashtag DIY with Juliet on social media when you post yours so I can see it and repost it. If you're also part of the group, please do not hesitate to post your pouch on the group. Okay, see you in our next project. Bye.